This is the Holy Gospel according to Matthew, the 6th chapter. Now beware of practicing your piety before others, in order to be seen by them. For then you have no reward from your Father in heaven. So whenever you give alms, do not sound a trumpet before you, as the hypocrites do in the synagogues and in the streets, so that they may be praised by others. Truly I tell you, they have received their reward. But when you give alms, do not let your left hand know what your right hand is doing, so that your alms may be done in secret, and your Father, who sees in secret, will reward you. And whenever you pray, do not be like the hypocrites. They love to stand and pray in the synagogues, at the street corners, so that they may be seen by others. Truly I tell you, they have received their reward. But whenever you pray, go into your room and shut the door and pray to your Father who is in secret, and your Father who sees in secret will reward you. And whenever you fast, do not look dismal like the hypocrites, for they disfigure their faces as to show others that they are fasting. Truly I tell you, they have received their reward. But when you fast, put oil on your head, wash your face, so that your fasting may be seen not by others, but by your Father who is in secret. And your Father who sees in secret will reward you. Do not store up for yourselves treasure on earth, where moth and rust consume, where thieves break in and steal. But store up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where neither moth nor rust consumes, where thieves do not break in and steal. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. The Gospel of the Lord.
Thanks be to God.
You may be seated. Saying ashes to ashes and dust to dust. Seems simple enough, but what really are ashes? What is in the dust? Volcanic ash can be full of nutrients, but also heavy metals and dangerous things. But fireplaces. Have any of you ever seen in a fireplace, after a long wood burn, you have ashes that build up, right? Soot that builds up, all those oils and the ash from the carbon and calcium and trace minerals are in our bodies as well. We have ashes from cremation. We have, in fact, hardwood ash, it turns out, can be used for cleaning glass. It was interesting to find this out. So I've been looking at articles on ashes and dust. Hardwood ash, because it has an alkaline property, can clean windows, but don't put it on your forehead. This isn't hardwood ash on. This is palm ash. Turns out that the same quality that can clean your windows can actually leave a mark on your forehead if you use wood ash. Right? You want to know what's in the ash. Ashes to ashes isn't just any old ashes. It could be ashes and dust from somewhere like when we had the recent fires that were started in the Santa Susana Field Laboratory, and people were concerned about radioactive ash blowing through the winds across the Southland from the radioactive site of the Santa Susana Laboratories, where the main fires began that wiped out Malibu. In an area that was using its area for radioactive and jet propulsion and others, so there was a danger of ash from that, let alone the ash from forest fires that can coat our cars after a fire. What kind of ashes and dust are we talking about here? Speaking of dust, I learned that the average household collects about 40 pounds of dust per year. Whoa! 40 pounds of dust in the average household. I'm guessing they have dogs and maybe 2 children and maybe the windows open and blowing a lot of dirt in from the backyard, I guess. But 40 pounds of dust. Cremation ashes weigh several pounds. For men, it's even more than for the women, it turns out, because the bones are what remains to become the ash. The carbon, the calcium, and these trace minerals that get into our body through diet, through the air, trace metals and minerals. Some things like our fillings have to be extracted before so that they don't become vaporized into our atmosphere and release dangerous chemicals. Now, after my brother died on Ash Wednesday 6 years ago, died on Ash Wednesday, and he chose cremation. And what happened next was they released his ashes from a plane that was flying over Santa Paula Mountains. And we went down to the Santa Paula airport and watched the plane take off. And it went alongside the ridge of the Santa Paula Mountains. And my brother became a cloud. A temporary cloud. But all clouds are temporary if you think about it. But it became a cloud. Cloud of the ashes that then would become part of the forest. Small particles blowing through the wind. But then we get into some of the dangerous aspects of dust and ash, like the dust mites that could be next to our bed, causing us breathing problems, causing us other issues and inflammation. Dust mites, the fungus spore that I breathed in the dust, the blowing dust down here in Southern California, down near Loma Linda, or perhaps out by the lake, the Salton Sea. I think that's probably where, just in the dust. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. Well, it turns out dust can be quite powerful. Stuff that you can't even see is more powerful than our immune system can handle. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. Dust and ashes aren't necessarily a clean thing. They can also have trace elements on them, minerals. They can carry with them radioactive materials. They can have mites throughout the dust, the ash around our house, small particles. And somehow I got a case of valley fever, which is a fungus that grows in the dirt, the dust. Somehow I breathed the dust, ashes to ashes, dust to dust, and I, within a couple months, was breathing blood. And I had a massive tumor on my lung from valley fever, bleeding in my lung. I'm always remembering how it's the tiniest little things that can actually get us super ill. It can be it's not just the large dangers out there that we see, but these tiny, tiny things that we don't even realize. I had a significant partner of a family member say at one point while the kids were playing in the dirt, and if one of them dropped some food in the dirt and was ready to eat it again, and she's like, "Oh, well, God made dirt. Dirt don't hurt, right?" I'm like, well, did God make the pesticides? Did God make the herbicides in that backyard? Did God make The fertilizers and all these extra chemicals in that dirt that we may not even see with our eyes. We don't know what's in the dirt, in the dust. I looked it up online, and it was saying that in households there can be up to 45 other toxic chemicals in the dust around the house. We can say we're just doing the dusting. I'm just dusting the house. But it turns out we're actually cleaning up all kinds of layers, all kinds of stuff that we're trying to protect ourselves from. Now, I'm constantly cleaning around our house. I vacuum almost daily, and sometimes more than once a day. Constantly cleaning, constantly vacuuming stuff, because my life, it turns out, goes to dust. My life, dust to dust, ashes to ashes, dust to dust. I even ordered some more vacuums for cleaning the church around here, especially those carpets back there. I ordered some nice carpet cleaning vacuums where we have the rain coming through there and it's stained the carpets. So I ordered a new one. There's points that we get on the credit card, and I'm able to get vacuums every so often. Vacuums. Why? Because of the dirt, the dust, the remains, the dangerous stuff that remains around us. And it's strange how dust, because we see it, it actually helps us clean. Because we see the dust, we don't know what's on the dust or what's roaming around in the dust. We probably aren't looking for the dust mites. But the dust itself, because it's large enough, helps us to clean. It's big enough to see it. It alerts us to clean it up. We don't see the viruses, the bacteria, the molds. Sometimes we see the black molds. We don't necessarily see the pathogens in the dirt. It's one of the reasons why I think that actually the housekeeping at hospitals is one of the most important positions in a hospital. Yeah, doctors are great, but the people that clean, that help clean the hospital. Now, we can't really see all that's in the dust and the ashes with our own eyes. And so, I tell you, when Aaliyah comes home from the hospital each day for lunch and after work, I try and hold on to Meridian for just an extra minute. But I get these looks in her eyes because what we want to happen is for Meridian to wait just a moment so Aaliyah can take off the clothing that's been in patient contact while she's been in the hospital. So she can take off that, so then she can embrace her child without the risk of accidentally sharing something that's been on the clothing. But I tell you, it's one of the hardest looks from Meridian, because she looks at me like, why aren't you excited that Mom's home? I'm thinking, well, we just need to wait a minute, and then as soon as the minute's up and she gets her clothes off, then we can be excited for Mom. And she looks at me like, why aren't you excited that Mom's home? And she gets frustrated. She's like, oh, I'm leaving you. I'm going to Mom. And we don't know how to work it out yet, but trying to protect her, she sometimes can have a misunderstanding as to why. Why? Well, because Mom's coming straight from the hospital and needs to remove some of the dust, the particles on herself. So many ways to pick up pathogens, to exchange them. Jesus says, if you're going to fast, make sure you wash your face. Jesus says, take a shower. Keep yourself clean. And in some ways, the dirty ashes cross I just put on your forehead is meant to remind you to do just that. Not just to clean the outside of our bodies, but it is to clean the spirit. Allow that spiritual cleansing to happen. But even more so within our bodies, Jesus takes up this idea of how fasting can clean us. When you fast, put oil on your head and wash your face. So wash your face before you go to sleep tonight. But this ash cross tonight is meant to remind you to get clean. And Jesus also invites us another way, a spiritual way, but it's also a very practical way to help clean out our bodies through fasting. Now, to consider the health benefits of fasting, the food cleanses, which can help our immune system to sweep out these old dangers, is very much like sweeping the house from dust and the detritus that's built up over the years. Our immune system is constantly trying to expel out the dangers, the toxins, the cancer, the free radicals, the precancerous stuff going on. Our body is constantly trying to do this. And it turns out in this strange way, in God's own logic, that going without food for a couple days can turn on a system in our bodies that will help strengthen us, will help heal us, and can even reverse diseases. And it turns out more and more that there is scientific, medical-based evidence to show that is exactly true. That intermittent fasting, that fasting with the reintroduction of necessary minerals, can actually help eliminate disease in our lives. Now, how many of you are willing to try it? Now, how much money does this cost, right? It's going to eliminate this. How much money does fasting cost? Wait a second. It's free? Jesus talks about fasting as a way to improve our lives. We hear it twice in Joel. Fast, fast. I certainly am going to take on some intermittent fasting this Lent. And I invite you to find out about fasting. Allowing ourselves, our immune system, which is built in order to sweep out the dust, sweep out the dirt inside of our bodies. Our immune system is triggered by the system of fasting, by the response to fasting, and it can help us be healed. Just a bonus. If you don't want to learn about it, then don't. If you can't go without food for a day, then I guess that's... But if you want to follow Jesus, if you want to hear what the Bible suggests, then make sure and clean your house. Make sure that the dust isn't piling up too much, but also pay attention to some of these practices that are ancient and have helped people for millennia. The evidence is there. It's current, it's medical, and it's amazing. It literally is a miracle cure that God's given to us already in our immune systems. Let's pray. God, thank you for helping us to clean out the dust and dirt around our lives, trying to help keep us healthy and clean, helping warn us about the molds and the funguses, helping us to be clean and to clean ourselves through your wonderful world of the immune system in our lives. Help us to clean ourselves through the foods that we eat, and perhaps even take on this discipline of fasting during this Lent. In Jesus Christ, amen. So, let's please rise and we'll join together in the hymn of the day.